Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today we have a family with us who they were suddenly thrust into the spotlight when their baby, Tyson, decided it was time to be born. It wasn't at home, and it wasn't in the hospital. It was in a speeding pickup truck. I will let the guests introduce themselves.
I'm Alyssa Coburn.
And your child is Tyson.
Tyson Tarian.
This is Cyrus Tarian and Paul Tarian,
Right.
the father.
And you were suddenly thrust into the spotlight. Now, Alyssa, I think you played a pretty important role in this. How did the day begin for you?
Well, I got up cramping and thought to myself, I have a feeling that today's the day that this baby's coming. And I got up like any other morning, just tried to go about my business, forgetting the fact of how I was feeling. And we were sitting outside drinking our coffee while Cyrus and my daughter Sydney were still sleeping. And all of a sudden, I don't know, my cramps started getting worse, and I told Paul, I think we need to start making some phone calls.
Yeah, because you've been through this before, two other times. So you probably, because I know now they a lot of times they don't want you to go right off. They tell you to stay home or something like that. I haven't done the baby thing for 24 years. So
right, it was like a rule of thumb, like they say, time your contractions 5 minutes apart for an hour.
Right.
And that's when you know you're in labor.
Right.
Which kind of seemed to happen a little bit quicker.
Right.
I kind of put it off. I said, no, they're not. I was about 5 minutes apart, 5-6 minutes apart when I was sitting there drinking my coffee, but the contractions weren't real strong.
And Paul, from a father's perspective, did you just take her word for it? Did you just stay calm?
I tried to stay as calm as I could. I focused on making phone calls as to who she wanted me to call and who was first on the list and who was next. And when I started calling people and the phone just kept going to voicemail, every person I started calling, I started to get a little nervous and like, uh-oh. We gonna have enough time?
Yeah, because because the wonders of social media, the first thing I knew about it was on Facebook. Your sister put out there, oh boy, my sister's going to have her baby and I'm headed there right now. Now at that point, I don't think she thought anything was going down.
Yes, I don't think she thought that, because I think when Paul was on the phone with her, she says, okay, call me when she gets to the hospital and things get a little closer. Yeah. I don't know what made her change her mind. Right. She says, she was at work and she says, I'm leaving. My sister's having a baby. And thank God she did, because it weren't a matter of 5 minutes after he got off the phone with her. And she had called back and said, I'm leaving. Where do you want me to meet you?
And your sister is Heather Allen?
Heather Allen,
right.
Yes.
And so where did you meet her? Did she meet you at the house?
I had her come to the house because we hadn't got a hold of Sarah, which is my daughter's aunt. We hadn't got a hold of her yet, so I didn't know exactly where, and I thought she'd probably be better off coming to the house first.
Right. So from the time you started calling, how long was it before you got everything lined up?
It probably only took a matter of 10-15 minutes, but it seemed like an hour.
Right. Yeah. You kind of remember these things anyways. It's like a joke with my daughter who's 24, and she just got married a couple weeks ago, and of course I had to tell the story how I was out trying to plant raspberries when my wife says, I'm in labor, we need to go. And I said, just a few minutes? No. And so you're gonna. This is a story you will remember. So you eventually loaded her into the truck, and your aunt Sarah Hall stayed with the children. Is that how it worked, or did you bring the children to her?
No, she came to us. Her and her husband came to us to get Cyrus and Sydney.
Right.
And thank God they showed up when they did.
And by the time they showed up, did you kind of know?
Oh,
this
I
was
knew.
It?
I knew, like, minutes after Paul got off the phone with her. I knew this is it. This is happening.
But did you know enough to know, in the sense of it wasn't something like you said, "Uh-oh, I better call 911." This you probably thought you could make it to the hospital because you weren't that. How many miles away were you?
It's either 4 or 5 miles.
Oh, so in other words, by the time an ambulance had gotten there, it would have been this.
That was my thought. As soon as she was in pain with having her contractions and stuff, it's like, if I call 911, I'm no more than going to get off the phone with the operator, and she's going to have this kid.
Right.
If we get in the truck, I can be at the hospital by the time I get off the phone with 911.
Now you've been in when your other son was born. Is that
Yes,
right?
yes.
But had it ever dawned on you, hey, I want to deliver a baby sometime by myself, or at least
No, never. It was kind of, I don't know, I didn't really get panicked or nerved up. I just kind of went into shock, like, oh, this is really happening.
How did Mom do?
Awesome. We were in the truck on the way, and she said, he's coming, his head's out. And I was like, no, he's not. We're just a minute from the hospital. Hold on. And I turned and I looked, and there was his head. And instantly I just thought, we need to get there.
So
We need to make sure he's okay.
So we were discussing this, and people have mentioned this as, okay, the baby is out where at what point was Tyson born?
Between Shattuck Hill and the first turn to Missionary Acres before the hospital turn, still in Derby,
Right. And what is or will his birth certificate say?
delivered en route.
Right. And so the baby's born. What do you do?
I just kept trying to keep him
So
stimulated.
you picked him up.
Yes, I literally delivered him myself because I knew he was coming, and it was almost like he forced himself out. I know, it sounds crazy, but I just remembered thinking to myself, I have to catch him. I can't let him drop on the floor. I don't want him to hit the seat. I don't know how fast he's going to come out. I know with my daughter, she came out pretty quick when she did.
Right.
As did my son. It was like a big rush. And I just remembered having my hand there on Tyson's head and his shoulders and pulling him up to me and thinking, I got to keep him stimulated, keep him crying so I know his airways are open. And I knew we were only a minute from the hospital. And it was just keep him crying as like a choking victim. As long as they're coughing, their airways are open. And as long as he was crying, I knew he was all right.
Now, how did during this was she totally calm?
She was 100% calm. There was no whimpers, no cries, no nothing from her. There was just total excitement, like. And then her first words is, "Oh my God, he's got a full head of dark hair."
And from one guy to another, if all of a sudden we were the ones who had to start giving birth, don't you think we'd probably go extinct?
I don't think I could go through any of it at any point in time.
No. Women are, I've said this before, I think I said it even on my last show, women are the stronger sex.
They are.
And all around, we can bluster all we want, but if it was up to us giving birth, the human species would go extinct. So you're speeding. Didn't you have kind of like two choices? Were you going to stop and help, or were you going to keep going? And
I had thought about it, but there weren't no time to stop because by the time she had said that he's coming, his head is out, and it was a matter of it was done, and it was just I had no time to stop, so keep going.
So you get to the hospital, and I guess you created your own driveway at the hospital because
Well,
somebody was.
I was blinking my lights and had the horn going in the four ways, and a car was pulling into the hospital to get out of my way, and they stopped right in my way. So
Oh, okay.
I went across the lawn and up to the emergency room doors.
Now, when most babies arrive, it's in maternity. People know you're coming. So I understand from Dr. Bouchard, it had been a really quiet morning. Then all of a sudden, what happens?
I'd lock them up in front of the emergency room doors and go in screaming that we just delivered a baby in the truck on the way here. And the ER people out front were like, huh? All calm and like, what? And then I got excited and I yelled it to them, and Dr. Bouchard and the nurses from the ER had heard me, and they come out around the corner, and Dr. Bouchard looks and he goes, oh, baby, and out the doors he went. And I climbed back in the driver's seat of the truck and let them do what they were doing.
And yeah, you picked as I said, Tyson, if he was going to be delivered in a truck, he picked a great day because Dr. Bouchard is an outstanding doctor, and he loves, even though he's not a baby doctor, he's done it, and he really enjoys it. And so here's a photo, and what is going on in that photo?
That was when Dad was cutting the umbilical cord, and I was still in the truck.
Okay. Yeah,
Dr. Bouchard and the nurses had come out and asked if Dad wanted to cut the cord, and of course, yes, I wanted him to, and because he did with our other son, Cyrus, and yeah.
So you actually got to experience, even Dad, you got to experience that part, and you probably got to experience more of the birth than if you'd been upstairs, just because you were at the wheel.
Right. And the upstairs you have a curtain there. You can look at the mirror, but it's not the same as, it's right there in the seat beside you. And when Dr. Bouchard asked if Dad wanted to go cut the umbilical cord, I was like, yeah, if I can. And he says, yeah. And here you go. And they handed me the scissors.
Right. Now, when he was born, I assume he wasn't born in a pickup truck.
No.
He was just in, the maternity unit. What was your reaction during the childbirth then? Like, I think a lot of guys, they go into it not really knowing what to think.
I didn't know what to expect or what to think. I've seen it before with my nieces and stuff being born, but my reaction to Alyssa is, I know you hate me right now, and I'm sorry.
That was when he was born?
Yeah, when Cyrus
Right.
was born. I said, you must hate me right now. She said, no, I love you to pieces.
But so in this one, with him, with Cyrus, and with Tyson, you didn't have time to really get nervous. You were nervous in a different way, but you weren't nervous about watching the whole birth process.
Right.
So
And there weren't nothing that went wrong, so she wasn't over there screaming and crying in pain, so it actually made things a lot easier. It was a lot less stressful for her and the baby. And then, like Cyrus, he was delivered in the maternity ward, and it was more stress because you've got more doctors, more nurses, more people telling you what to do and what not to do and when to do it, versus all natural, going on your own and doing it yourself. And she completely delivered that baby all on her own.
Right. Okay, here's another photo of Dr. Bouchard with the baby, bringing it in, and he I'm sure he wished it was inside, but you can tell he's a pretty proud guy right there helping out, and then I believe those are nurses.
Yes.
And so what happens then? So the baby, so you're not just left out in the vehicle. What goes on?
Well, for what I remember the nurse Sue Berger. She was right at my side the whole time as Dr. Bouchard was taking Tyson into the hospital. They were amazed at how good he looked, and he was crying and looked perfectly healthy. And I believe that it was EMTs that were there as well that happened to be at the ER at that point. And as Dr. Bouchard was taking Tyson into the ER, I remembered them helping me out of the truck, trying to keep me covered as good as they could, and put me on the stretcher to wheel me upstairs.
Right. So were you instantly reunited with Tyson?
Honestly, it's kind of a blur. Once I got upstairs after they had taken him in to check him and make sure his temperature was up, that was one of their concerns, because he was born in the truck in an unsterile environment. They wanted to make sure that everything was okay with him. But it wasn't long after that they had brought him up, and he was perfectly fine.
Right. And how much did he weigh, and how long was he?
He was 7 pounds and 19 inches long.
Right. And that's a pretty healthy size baby, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So how many days were you in?
As far as how long?
Yeah. How long were you in?
Was I?
Yeah, no. How many days were you in the hospital?
2.
2 days. And here's a family shot of that I took of you there, and that shows your entire family.
Yes.
And there's your daughter that wasn't able to be here today because she had more important things at school.
Absolutely, which she loves. And one of the things she said after Tyson was born and she was in the hospital holding him, she says, "This is the best birthday present I've ever gotten," because her birthday was August 19th, the day before.
Right.
She actually wanted Tyson to be born on her birthday, but as I had to remind her, I said, "No, Sydney," I said, "I don't want him to come on your birthday because that's your special day."
Yeah, sharing birthdays can be kind of tough sometimes.
Yeah, and like I said, that's your special day, just like Tyson needs his special day.
Right.
Once I explained it to her, she says, "Oh, that's okay, Mom."
Right. So, what is she's 7?
Yes.
So I assume then she certainly knows about the birds and the bees by now because of all this. But did you tell her everything that happened? As in, like, being born in the truck?
No. Well, she knew that he was born in the truck. I don't really think there was much question out of her as to how, and as far as the birds and the bees go, that's at a later time. I haven't explained that to her.
No, what I was saying is she did know that the baby was born in the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you have more children, I assume you're going to be shooting for the hospital room to give birth. And
Paul's mother said, when the next one comes, she says, "We're camping out on the hospital steps."
the one thing I thought was interesting, and I ended the article I wrote on you folks, is well, yeah, we were in a Ford, but I'm really at heart a Chevy man. So I was wondering if maybe North Point then might give you a brand new Chevy or something, since you're really a Chevy man.
That would be nice. But I love Chevys. I've been a Chevy man my whole life, and I've got a '87 Chevy that I donated to Sydney 3 years ago as her truck that we're gonna rebuild for her. And the Ford, I have to say, it's spacious, it's roomy enough, it served as a double purpose.
Yep, a maternity ward and all.
But the sticker on the door does say it's not to be used as an ambulance.
So, if you had to do anything different now, was there anything you could have done different, not knowing that he was going to be born then, or are you pretty comfortable that you did everything that you were supposed to do, and Tyson just had different ideas.
I'm very comfortable with the way everything worked out. It
Yeah.
couldn't have been any better. I feel so fortunate that things did happen the way that they did and went as well as they did.
What are you going to tell Tyson when he grows up a little bit older? I bet you it won't be long before he gets an inkling that he was he came into the world a little bit differently than other babies.
Probably end up telling him he was built Ford tough. Born Ford tough, I should say.
So I wonder if he will be a Ford man or whether he'll be a Chevy man like you.
I don't know. My brother is 100% about Fords, and my brother, if he happens to see this or knows about it, then he is going to be totally ecstatic because he is 100% about Fords.
So, so your daughter, she's been pretty excited.
Yes.
Now, what does your son here seem to think about his new brother?
Absolutely loves him. He is absolutely 100% gentle with him. He likes to rub his head and give him kisses, and he loves him.
Right. So you have gotten quite a bit of media attention. It was in the New Orleans County Record. It was in the Daily Express. Have you enjoyed sharing your story?
I have. I didn't realize exactly how much attention it was going to get. Yesterday, I realized it when we had stopped at Cumberland Farms and got coffee after we had Tyson's doctor's appointment. And there was a couple ladies walking out. I'd never seen them before, but the one woman, she was kind of hesitant looking at me, looking into the truck like, is this who I think it is? And then all of a sudden when she got closer to the cab of the truck, she waves and says, "Congratulations!" And it just brought the biggest smile on my face, and it was like, thank you.
and you said the article that I wrote for the Orleans County Record, you said they sold right out?
From what?
Yeah, Cumberland Farms, I guess, had sold out by like noon, 1 o'clock. They had no more newspapers.
Well, the Orleans County Record, they thought it was so newsworthy. They splashed it right across. They call it above the fold. You had the top billing of that issue.
I was very surprised when I saw that. I was like, wow.
Well, I was talking to my friends at WCAX, and one of their people actually, is it Adam Silver? I can't remember,
Sullivan.
but he had his child was born in a pickup truck, and so I now know of another pickup truck baby. So, all right. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to tell the folks?
Don't try this at home.
No. So yeah, you don't.
It's not recommended.
But on the other hand, you both did a great job.
Well,
Yes.
we've both been there in the situations, but not in that situation.
Right.
We just did what we could and did the best we knew and hope for the best.
So he's 100% perfect.
Yes.
Yes, he's over and above his birth weight.
At less than a week old.
At less than a week old, he was 7 pounds when he was born, and he went down to
6 pounds 9 ounces when we left the hospital.
But as a follically impaired person like myself, as in being bald, I envy Tyson's head of hair. As he certainly has a head of hair. So
The very first words out of my mouth when I seen him and I put him up on my chest was, as Paul said earlier, I said, "Oh my God, honey, he's got a head full of dark hair."
were your other children born with a lot of hair?
No, my daughter, she was practically bald for almost a year before
Alright.
she started growing hair. Cyrus had some, but
And Cyrus has blonde hair. So
he's
okay.
got Dad's hair.
Yep. All right. Well, I think Cyrus is trying to tell us we've talked enough, and unless either one of you have any final words, we will end it. And congratulations on both of you, because although I think we both know women play a much bigger role in it, and as I said, if it was you or I going to be having to deliver a kid, we'd go. This humans would go extinct. So, okay. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you
Thank
for
you for
having
having
us.
Thanks. And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.